talking about video games. Yeah! Welcome back, everybody. This is the Donkey Kong Artist Podcast. We have taken a bit of a hiatus, but we are back in full force. Huzzah! Joining me, as always, is my best friend and co-host, Edmund Arnold. Edmund, how you doing?
I wanted to do one, too. I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you.
It's the right sound effect because of Justice League, I feel like.
It's a good sound effect. I feel like I'm, a little bit of Ezra Miller right now. Huzzah!
You should be Ezra Miller, the best part of Justice League, if anyone hasn't seen it. We'll get into it later, but Ezra Miller is the shining star of Justice League.
Is he? That's good. That's good to hear.
In my humble opinion.
The Flash is the shining star of the DC universe, so it makes sense.
Flash and Spider-Man, dude, those are Marvel and DC, the top.
I can get behind that. Yeah, I can get behind that. Those are the shining stars of both respective companies, so yeah.
Coming out of the gate with hot takes today.
Hot takes. Pew, pew, pew.
Oh, I'm glad you made a little phaser sound, because what I really want to get into, and what pretty much everyone in the video game world is talking about, is Star Wars Battlefront 2, and maybe not for the reasons that we all want to be talking about this game.
Yeah, EA being EA.
I mean, okay, so let's say you're living under a rock and you're first getting this information from us. Star Wars Battlefront 2, a game that has been on everybody's radar for quite a while, was released on Friday. Before it was released, there was a bit of a controversy going back to when the beta was released about loot boxes, everyone's favorite thing in the whole wide world, and the amount of money or time you would have to sink in just to get playable characters like Darth Vader or like Yoda, people you would expect in a Star Wars game. There was a bit of pushback, and that is an understatement of the highest order from people in the gaming community, and people saying basically what you just said, EA being EA. And we're just seeing more and more loot boxes, as we've been saying for weeks now on this podcast. I mean...
Yeah, it's been a colossal failure on EA's part. I mean, they're trying to remedy it as much as they can, but, I think they went on... which, I don't know why these companies do this. They go on Reddit and they do that Q&A thing, which is, the dumbest thing for me ever. If you're going to make a product, why are you opening it up for consumers to question you? Just put it out. This, I don't get it. And I'm coming from attack companies, bring companies down, but I just don't understand why you're going to open it up for people to just come and ask questions or whatever. So they do this Reddit thing, and I guess they come out and they say something. They make a comment on their loot boxes. I don't know exactly what the comment is, and then it's the most downvoted Reddit comment of all time.
Yeah, it is the number one downvoted Reddit comment of all time.
680,000.
I can read it if you would like to hear it. This is. So, so here's the thing. Somebody posted a question. I paid $80 to have Vader locked, is how upset this person from Canada was. They spent $80 of their hard-earned money. All they wanted to do was play as Darth Vader in a game. EA responded. It's weird. Kudos to them, I guess, on all of this for being open and responding to things, but also,
Sure.
You'd almost be better off if you didn't. Here's the response, which is currently sitting at negative 675,000 downvotes. The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. All right. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Okay, even right there, I remember when the open beta came out and people were pissed about Star Wars.
Furious, yeah.
Pissed. So, what are you talking about right out of the gate? This is complete PR nonsense. They go on to say, among other things, we're looking at average per-player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and, of course, attainable via gameplay. Also, complete nonsense. Somebody on Reddit went through and actually did the time. They did the math to figure out how long it would take. If you played this game 2 hours a day, every day, it would take you something like 6 months to be able to afford some of the characters in this game. With the model
characters, I think it's to afford everything.
Well, that includes
characters. Before, the characters were priced so high that it would take up to 40 hours to unlock. And that's just to unlock the character. You also have to unlock. You have to pay for upgrades to upgrade that character to play better in game. So it's not just unlocking, because I thought it was just unlocking the character and you have that character. Not only do you have to unlock that character, you also have to pay credits in order to upgrade that character to be better during a multiplayer match. So that to me is insanity. And if you haven't played Battlefront 2, they have a star card system where you have to purchase cards in order to you get 3 cards to assign to each character. And once you assign those cards, they give you different upgrades like faster blaster cooldown, or grenades don't affect you as much. So you get these different things assigned to your character, but everything is through this credit system. So I could go in and I could just pay $200 and I could get all these credits, and I could just be sitting there unlocking loot boxes, unlocking loot boxes, unlocking loot boxes, to the point where you're paying to win. And that's where the frustration's coming from.
Because look at the pride and accomplishment of spending your money. What an accomplishment to be able to buy that.
Well, yeah, and I think it was either $2,000
Good God.
in order to unlock everything. I think it was close to $2,000, or up to, I think, 6 months of gameplay, like you were saying, to unlock everything it is in order to be like a max level type player.
That in and of itself is complete and utter madness. Like,
but that's a problem.
Oh, that's a humongous problem. Like,
That's
I get
a
it.
problem.
I get it from a business standpoint, even though it's gross. Like, clearly, if you can make that much money out of people, like, why would you not want to do that as a business? But it still sucks, and it cheapens the game. And what's worse, and my biggest problem with all of these microtransaction crap, is that none of it's fun. It's not even a game at that point. You're just buying a hat. A really expensive hat.
Well, and this is my problem. There's no cosmetics in this game. There's, I think you get to pick a victory stance if you win. You get to pick, like, emotes. And I understand that Star Wars, you can't really have a lot of, because people freaked out when they gave you the ability to take the masks off of stormtroopers in the first game. So they had to go back and edit it so that you couldn't take helmets off of stormtroopers. But just, like, if you're going to do loot boxes, add cosmetics to your game. Have, like, a cool stormtrooper, and it's your game, right? So you can do whatever you want with the lore. So add a cool stormtrooper, Captain Phasma type armor that you need to unlock, and if you want to pay for it,
them out, dog.
Don't assign it to these things that will make your gameplay better, or will make you a better player in a multiplayer match. Because that's where people get mad. Because that pay-to-win stigma is, like, the worst stigma to have in video games ever. And that's across the board. That's, like, cell phone games. That's PC games. Like, people, since day one, they've always been against pay to win. And EA just constantly, what are you going to do? You know what I mean?
What's weird about it is twofold, I guess. A, why would anyone be surprised by this? Because as you say, this is EA. The writing's on the wall. They've been doing this forever. It's always this type of stuff. It was voted the worst company in America a couple years ago. I think it won it 3 years in a row. Won it. Is maybe not the right terminology. But so there's that. Why are you surprised by EA doing this? And then B, why in the world, if you knew all this stuff from the beta, would you buy a game that you knew this was going to be happening for?
And I think that's why EA is rectifying a lot of these mistakes. It's because people are saying, I'm not buying this game. And I'm the biggest anti-EA person ever. I don't like what they did with the NFL football. I'm one of those people that have been against EA since that day, since they basically monopolized that. So I'm very anti-EA, but we have to give them kudos for at least trying to. So, like, they eliminated microtransactions after the uproar. So I guess I hear they've locked themselves in a room and they're trying hard to try to figure out what type of updates they can add to the game to basically make it a smoother process for everybody involved. So they're trying. They did reduce the prices of Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker to the point where I bought this game on, Tuesday. I did pay the $80.
Did they judge you at the game shop? Where they're like,
shit. I bought it digitally, and I don't care. I like Star Wars. I'm going to pay the money for it. I don't care.
It's your money. Do it.
I'm going to give money to this company. I was raised on Star Wars. I do not care. Whatever. Judge me if you want. You can tweet me all you want. But whatever. I paid the $80 for it. So, yeah, I was able to play Tuesday. And by the time they lowered these prices, I could purchase Darth Vader. I could purchase Princess Leia. I probably could have each of the heroes right now if I wanted to. But I've been going another route with unlocking as many troop cards as I can. But they've done little things in order to make it a better experience for people, because people are telling them, I'm not buying your bullshit game. I'm not doing this.
I guess we should applaud them for that, right? Like you said, like they were open in the effort of fairness. Here's because they announced it on Twitter a couple days ago. As we approach the worldwide launch, it's clear that many of you feel that there are still challenges in the design. We've heard the concerns about potentially giving players unfair advantages, and we've heard that this is overshadowing an otherwise great game. And great game might be a little strong.
It's a fun game.
It's not a great game. It's a decent game.
It's a decent game, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so they did pull it back. We hear you loud and clear, so we're turning off all in-game purchases. We will now spend more time listening, adjusting, balancing, and tuning. However, they said all this, but they also plan to re-implement them a little bit farther down the line. We'll see in what capacity that is, but I mean, they aren't completely getting rid of these, just so that's clear too. I mean, kudos to them for addressing an issue and, really not being cowards about it. They stood up and they took their licks and they responded.
Yeah, because what would most companies do? Look at all this stuff that No Man's Sky did. And I hate to bring up No Man's Sky again, but No Man's Sky got all that heat from people. They basically went underground for a year and a half, and no one heard anything from them. So at least EA's coming out ahead of themselves. Like, look, we made a mistake. We know we made you guys mad. Well, they didn't say we made a mistake, but they say we know we made some decisions that you guys do not agree with, so we're going to do our best in order to try to make changes that you guys may agree with us about. But look, it's still a company. We still need to make money, and we still have shareholders, and they have to appease the shareholders. I mean, they have to. It's EA. It's a big company. It's not like these small developers where they don't need to appease to the stockholders. And people need to take a step back and realize that. And I don't think people are thinking about that either.
I think people are being unfair both ways. I think there's a lot of people who don't really understand that it is a massive company and that its goal is to make money. And, you'd be singing a much different tune if you were on the payroll of these places. And not everybody who works at EA is like some rich fat cat. They employ hundreds and hundreds of people, and these people need paychecks. At the same time, these types of practices and loot boxes are obviously just trying to wring more dough out of a small percentage of people, much like gambling does. And we've talked about that, and lots of people have talked about that. What is surprising to me, not surprising, what is disappointing to me as somebody who likes video games is that this is not going away, and this was a model that was brought up by much smaller, stupider, fringe games made for children that we all used to laugh at, like apps and mobile games, but they're influencing the way that actual big market games and Star Wars IP is now being affected by this.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and I feel bad. We talked a little bit before the podcast. I feel bad to the actors involved with this game because this game is getting a lot of bad flack. Star Wars is getting a lot of bad flack because of what EA has done. I don't know. We have to don't think that it's going to get any better. EA's company shares, according to CNBC, they declined 2.5% on Friday. Merrill Lynch predicted that Star Wars title sales are likely to disappoint investors and come under the company's target because of the gamer outrage. So don't think that because they're doing all this, everything's going to be rectified. Because, like we always talk about on this podcast, money talks.
Vote with your wallet.
It's still sad to see everyone, the developers, the actors, everyone involved, the designers, everyone involved with this game. It's just sad to see them get such a negative rap.
Yeah, because it's not your fault. Our guest this week is Janina Gavankar, who plays Iden Versio, essentially the protagonist of the game. And I really feel for her. I really do. She's been in things. She's been in True Blood. She's she's beautiful, and she's a good actress, and she's had a couple roles. But this was like a big role, and she's a Star Wars fan. She's genuinely a Star Wars fan. I believe her wholeheartedly when she says it. She is nerding out about this and was stoked.
Well, you have to be a Star Wars fan if you're willing to attend the E3 conference and have it be basically built around your character.
Right.
So yeah, I do feel bad for her. And let's talk about the positives for this game real quick.
Yeah,
the voice acting in this game is excellent. She brings everyone involved. I don't know the actors involved, but they bring excellent voice dynamics. The facial animations are phenomenal. It feels like a Star Wars property, if that makes sense. It's a little fan fiction-y.
There's that scene where Yoda and Luke make out with each other, which is it's tasteful. It's tastefully done.
I'm glad they're taking a step in the right direction.
Right.
But it's a little fan fiction-y. It's a little bit abrupt. I mean, it feels like it was put together really quickly. and I would have liked for it to focus more on these new characters rather than trying to jump us across the galaxy to check in on Luke. On this episode, we're going to see what Luke is doing. On this episode, we're going to see what Han Solo's been doing. It would have been nice to get that information through, I don't know, like NPC conversations, codexes, things like that, and really focus behind this new cast of characters. Because they were such a delight. They're such just a great cast. I can't get over it.
Simply delightful.
The game is beautiful. It's a beautiful game, just like Battlefront 1 is one of the most beautiful games to be put out. And it feels like you're in a Star Wars world, and it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun playing it. But all this baggage behind it is bringing it down. So it's hard to, but if you want a fun Star Wars game that you don't mind having a bunch of controversy behind it, go ahead and pick it up. And if you're a Star Wars fan like me. So I gauge it like this. If you're willing to defend Jar Jar Binks, you probably will like this game. I will defend Jar Jar Binks until I die, and I really, really, really like this game.
Wait, I'm sorry, you defend Jar Jar Binks? Is that what you just said?
I defend Jar Jar Binks to the very end, to my death.
Can I hear your Jar Jar Binks defense?
He was a missed attempt at bringing comedic relief that's the Star Wars universe desperately needed.
I hate because this is something that would be so easy to argue, but I've actually I never hated Jar Jar Binks, and as someone who was like 10 when that movie was released, I loved Jar Jar Binks as a child.
Yeah, and that's where I come from. I was a kid when that Star Wars, maybe if I was an adult, I would have been like, oh my god, why are they doing this? Because that's how I feel towards those, I don't even remember their names because they're so stupid. Those little penguin things that you go crazy about on Twitter.
Oh, I love porgs.
I hate porgs. So I probably would feel the same way about Jar Jar Binks if I was an adult watching the original trilogy, the original trilogy.
It's like the Ewok problem for everybody who's like 50 now. They hated Ewoks because they were a little bit too old when the Ewoks were introduced, and they're like, what is this juicy crap?
Yeah, I do also hear about people hating Ewoks, and I'm like, I love the Ewoks. I was a kid, though.
Yeah.
I grew up to Star Wars, so Jar Jar Binks, Ewoks, they pose no threat to me. I love them.
Perhaps the hottest take of all hot takes is that we defend Jar Jar Binks. Fight us in real life.
Yeah, come fight me. I'll send you my address. You want to fight me over Jar Jar Binks? I'll defend Jar Jar Binks to the death. You can stab me over Jar Jar Binks.
You're a brave man. I love it. Joining me now is Janina Gavankar, star of Star Wars Battlefront 2. So thank you, first off, for getting on the phone with me.
I'm here for that.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. All right, let's get started, I guess. First off, how exciting is it to join the Star Wars universe?
I'm literally washing a Stormtrooper mug right now that I've had from before I was a part of this project. So as you can imagine, I am thrilled.
You've got nerd cred. You had the merchandise before you even got the role.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I have so many things. I have the 3,000 piece. I think it's 3,000 piece Death Star, like the discontinued Lego Death Star set that I got on eBay. I'm like everyone else, that Star Wars has permeated my life in some way.
So we know that you're a Star Wars fan. So were you a video game fan before you came aboard this? Or are you a big video game player?
Oh yeah. No, I'm a hardcore gamer. I didn't grow up playing video games. I had a really strict upbringing, so I kind of missed out. But I started playing games in 2007, which just happened to have been like the dawn of the AAA game. In 1 year, I played the first BioShock, Portal, Half-Life 2, Assassin's Creed, Zelda Twilight Princess. What else came out that year? Resident Evil 4.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, how did this world exist and I didn't know? It was like this. I don't even know how to explain it. It was just like feeling like I had been blind. The most wonderful thing, just made for me. It felt like, by that point they were interactive movies. So I missed all of the years of what it took to make games become interactive movies.
Oh, you came in at a good time, though. I like that you said interactive movies, particularly.
the perfect time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What's cool is that for actors now, they really are. It's not just interactive movies for the players, but also for the actors. You guys are really the technology has come so far that you're really performing these roles. So what was it like to do this project? Were you interacting with the other actors in a mocap suit? What was the project like, or the filming of it?
Absolutely, this is a full motion capture performance. A full performance capture performance, I should say. And there's a ton of in-game voiceover as well. But when we were given the script, it covered all of the cinematics, which moved seamlessly into gameplay. So we were cast. I immediately had access to the writers and to Mark Thompson, who's the creative director of the narrative, and I had just started working the same exact way that I would on camera. It really is just an on-camera acting gig. You have 1,000 cameras around you. You just happen to have dots on your face that are catching all of your emotions. And if you see, have you watched the trailer? Did you get access to the trailer? It came out yesterday.
Yeah, I did, absolutely. It's you. It's you in the trailer. It does, yeah, it's amazing. It looks, I'm excited for this as I am for The Last Jedi.
I'm gonna quote you on saying that.
Nice, I love it.
I just got off the phone with Tom Keegan right before you called, and he's the cinematic director, and he expects a lot from his actors emotionally. He comes from the theater, and he is a movement performer. He's a dancer. So he expects a lot from his cast. And so, I really wanted to add a certain kind of stillness to Iden. So there's a certain level of calm that comes from people in leadership positions in the military, calm and focus to be able to make decisions that are life or death. My grandfather was a general. My brother-in-law is a former Marine. I know that breed quite well, and so I wanted to add that to this performance, which is nerve-wracking, of course, because you don't know if the technology is going to be able to catch it all.
Right.
But I was just talking to him and sort of celebrating that some of the first impressions already are talking about the subtlety of the performances and how it's lending itself to feel so much like a movie.
Right. Well, it's a testament to the technology and to your performance as well, that it is capturing those small, minute, intimate moments, I guess, is the good word for them, which is great for games.
Yeah, and absolutely. As we go forward, it's only going to get better.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Iden herself, because what's cool about this game particularly is that we have a chance to actually step into the Empire, which we haven't really done in a lot of other Star Wars types of projects. So what was it like to kind of play the bad guy?
I mean, that's what you call her. It's not what you call yourself. There's a book. Do you know about this? It's a book that is the backstory to the game, and it's sort of like the Dawn of Inferno Squad. It's by Christy Golden, who wrote Dark Disciple. And again, like this, she was in constant conversation. It was so surprising how collaborative this entire process has been. Like one example of like how collaborative it's been. I did not answer your question, but I'm gonna come back to it. I promise. Like an example of how collaborative it's been was like there is a scene in this game that is the crux of the story and of the relationships within it. Trying to say things without giving things away.
It's hard,
and we worked very hard on those relationships. And so we got to this scene, and we learned it, and we blocked it. And after a while, we decided to improvise it. So we dropped pages. We improvised all of we improvised the entire scene to really get to the subtext and figure out what we're really trying to say. And then Mitch Dyer, who's one of the writers, decided that he liked it more. And all this, by the way, side note, we have had a Lucasfilm Story Group member with us every day that we've shot. So every single thing that is in this game has been signed off on by, at least one of the only 12 story group members on this planet. So we rewrote the entire scene based on our improvisation, and that is what's in the game.
That's amazing. 'Cause in a way, you're writing a Star Wars, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry to high-pitched squeal.
No, I love it.
It's crazy to think about too hard. So that way, what was your question though? You asked me about...
Well, I had spoken, I think originally, about the playing a role as an empire. You're part of the empire, so what is traditionally the antagonists, and now we're kind of giving up some humanity,
right.
I guess.
So, for Iden, when you play somebody, you're thinking about their ideals and their backstory and where they come from and what their spine is made of.
Mm-hmm.
And Iden is a literal poster child for the Empire. His father is an admiral. His mother was a propaganda artist. So she made some of those beautiful Empire posters that maybe you've seen before,
mm-hmm.
and she painted her daughter, Iden, into them. She's a literal poster child. That is part of the spinal column, So it's in her DNA. So that when you are 100% that as a family ideal, and you grow up in that and you thrive in that system, it's very easy to know what your allegiance is, and that's how you start the story,
Without giving too much away, I mean, because that's such an interesting spine, as you said, for a character, particularly given the moment that this game is set in, because it's set right after the end of Return of the Jedi when the Death Star explodes. So she's kind of thrown into a situation that she has not been before. I don't know how you can answer these questions without giving too much away for the narrative.
Well, I mean, listen, Inferno Squad's job is to get in, clean up, and get out. Most people don't even know they exist. So, she thinks she's going in to clean up a mess on Endor, which is a routine mission. And then suddenly, about 1 million people on her side died. It's devastating. And they don't even have time to grieve. They just have to get off that planet. So, so they do what they do best. They focus and get out. But the thing that's interesting, this covers a time period in Star Wars that hasn't really been delved into yet. We get to explore the notion of an empire without an emperor.
I mean, that even without Star Wars attached to it is an interesting premise itself, but particularly so, what you said, this is something, there's a massive gap between, The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi, and now we get to see kind of what was going on during that.
Yeah.
You mentioned Endor, and
Brad.
That's exactly the word I would use. You mentioned Endor, and we've seen in some of the footage that's come out and people who have gotten their hands on the beta, we're seeing locales that are familiar to us. We've also seen some familiar faces. Are we mostly sticking to places that we've all seen and visited before? Are we going to see some new places that we've only heard mentioned in Star Wars?
Oh, you're going to see new places. There's specifically one that I love the most. It's called Vardos. It's where Iden is from. She grew up there. And it's an Imperial home planet, as opposed to an Imperial occupied planet, which we have seen before. This, Vardos, is it's an example of how wonderful things would be if they were orderly and clean, the way the Empire would have things be had they ruled things the way they want to.
You're putting a lot of Empire propaganda out there, I feel like.
I say this as I'm sipping from a Stormtrooper mug, so...
You're painting a very vivid picture here. It's very telling. Are we going to run into or have any interaction with, we saw in the last Battlefront game that we got to control and kind of see a lot of our favorite Star Wars heroes. So are those people going to be making appearances again in this game? And is there anybody that you can kind of hint at who we might see?
Yes. Yeah, so at this point I can tell you about Luke, I can tell you about Leia, I can tell you about Maz. I don't think I can tell you about anybody else.
Gotcha. Well, that's a good crew right there.
Those people are in the trailer, so there you go. That's pretty safe.
Has there been any talk, again, we don't want to give anything away, and we don't know what the end of the story is going to be, but is there any possibility that Iden will show up in future installments in the game series, or what about maybe in the movies, because the time period, she could still be alive?
That's a great idea.
I would pitch that. We need to get you on screen. I guess this hasn't been a talk that you've had.
Oh, Patrick. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, I'm pulling to see her in future installments if things go well for her in this.
I would love to as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much for hopping on the phone with me, and I'm really looking forward to the game. It looks amazing, and your performance, just from the little bits I've seen, looks so great. So.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited as well. I mean, I'm like, this is the culmination of all good things in the world. You know, Star Wars. It'd be one thing if I just got to be in a Star Wars story. The fact that I get to be the protagonist in a Star Wars story in a medium that I am obsessed with, I just can't believe this has happened to me. I can't believe this is my life.
Well, I'm happy for you, and I'm excited to see it and to get my hands on it. So, again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There are positives to this game, obviously. All the ones that you brought up are good. My thing is, look, with microtransactions, they're in a lot of games that I've played over the last month, 2 months. I don't spend money on games. Like, outside of buying the ticket price of what the game is, I'm not going to spend any more money on it. That's just the type of person I am. I'm like that with a lot of things. Maybe it's because I grew up in Nevada and I was too close to gambling. I never liked gambling.
That's true.
Maybe that's something to do with nothing about that at all. It doesn't matter.
Right.
The point is that I can enjoy this game because I don't care about getting like characters and leveling up. I just kind of want to shoot lasers for 2 hours and then I shelf the game. So for people like me, it's fine. I know that there's a lot of people who are like me, different gamers like me, who this controversy doesn't even really touch. At the same time, like, I can't act like I don't feel for the people who are hardcore gamers and
absolutely
counting down the days for this and feel like jilted by it. I get that.
And I agree with you in a way that I don't have a gambling addiction. So maybe if it was something like I stay away from drugs because I have addiction problems. Like if I like something, I'm going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm high right now, so maybe I shouldn't comment on that.
I'm always high on something. I'm life. So I get it. Like if I had a gambling problem, if I got a thrill and it was just dangling right there in front of me, then yeah, it'd be an issue. But I don't have that problem, so I can't really speak on it. But as someone who does purchase loot boxes for cosmetic reasons, and I will defend this until I die, if the loot boxes are for alternative products in a game that doesn't affect the way gameplay at all, if it affects just the look of your avatar, then include that. That's fine. Because if I'm spending money on that, who's going to care about it?
Right.
It's not going to make me better. It's just I want my character to look a specific way.
Yeah.
So what if I want to buy a hat? So what if, you might be against that. You may never do that. But if I want to do that, give me the option. But don't attach it to things that are going to make me win easier.
Exactly, because that's Bush League. That's like tantamount to steroid use in baseball. Like
It's shenanigans.
Yeah, you're cheating. You're cheating because you're rich.
Yeah. It's a good analogy. It's steroids. I like that.
I love baseball. I miss it so much.
I love steroids baseball. I don't like the new baseball.
Oh, God. Steroid, okay, for anyone who wasn't alive and says they don't like baseball, you don't know how awesome steroid baseball was. It was like the greatest in the world.
I'm the person that stood around that's like, I don't like baseball anymore because I grew up with steroids baseball. Right. And I have this conversation because I live with a bunch of people that just love baseball. And you love baseball. And I'm just like, there is nothing better than, like, watching Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire go after those home run titles where they were hitting like 70 to 80 home runs a year. It's like that, and these guys would just go, and the bat just looked like it was a toothpick in their hands.
Yeah, because they were genetic superhuman mutants. Dude, it was the best.
Dope, and everybody wanted. They all were. It was like WWE baseball.
Dude, oh my God, yes, exactly. It was like NFL Blitz, but with baseball in real life.
It was so dope, and oh man, I miss it. And now it's just like you can't flip bats. Like,
yeah, I know. Get out of here. Let's just get steroids for everybody.
At least make another league like a XLB, where you're doing like
just steroids. You have to be on steroids. Everyone would watch that. Don't even act like that wouldn't be the most popular thing in the world.
I would be at every game. Yeah. Shoot, I'd buy a team. I'd save all my money now.
If we could get back to, not that this isn't incredibly fascinating and riveting for me, if we could get back to loot crates or in-game purchases, just really quick, I want to play this because I thought it was just too good for the current environment that we're in.
Sure.
Jack Black was on The Tonight Show last night. Actually, sorry, this was a couple years ago Jack Black was on The Tonight Show, but this came up recently, it just resurfaced. This is Jack Black talking about his 8-year-old son playing a mobile game with in-app purchases. So I'm just going to play. It's about a minute long.
Because, I'm a bad father. He plays a lot of iPad, but that's only partially true. I make up for it in other ways. But he loves this one game he just discovered. And the thing is, they get you because it's like the app is for free. Mm-hmm. But then I'm just checking my emails one day, and there's 30 emails of, like, receipts for this app. And it's in-app purchases where they get you. And it's this dumb game where you got, like, monsters and stuff, and every monster, you got to buy it. And you need to buy, like, diamonds and jewels. And it costs 99 cents for a diamond. But, of course, my boy, he doesn't know. He's just like, I'm going to get the big sack of diamonds. It's $100 a throw. $100! This game is designed for children. It's marketed to children. And then there's a $100 thing in-app. And there's 30... Okay, do the math. There's like 30 receipts on my computer. So it's like, it's well over 3,000. Yeah. It's like 3,000. Mother-loving dollars.
Can we pause this real quick?
Yeah.
Because I think we need to research this, because most parents that I talk to that have this happen to them, they don't understand what their kids are buying at all. Mm-hmm. He has a good amount of detail of what his kid is buying. So was this Jack Black's kid, or was this Jack Black himself?
That is a very good question. This might be erroneous. Or, let's play devil's advocate for Mr. Jack Black. He might have looked into it after the fact because he was telling the story on a show.
Yeah, whatever.
Still, it is.
My theory's better.
I like yours. It's more controversial. Regardless, what you said is even a bigger issue then, right? Like, if parents don't know and they're giving... I would know because we're of a generation, or I'm cognizant of it myself, and I've written about, mobile games, even though I don't really play them myself. So, like, I'm aware, I understand that, like, these games will have in-app purchases. But let's say you're 50 years old and your 10-year-old kid wants to play these games. You wouldn't know. Why would you know? You've never played these games before.
And it can easily happen to everyone, because my dad's 72. He watches how old is Pierce? You said his name, whatever. He watches a 8-year-old, 9-year-old. Uh-huh. He's like a father figure to the kid, and he will just give him his cell phone for hours. And Pierce could easily go, I keep seeing his name, whatever. He easily could keep going in and could just purchase whatever he wants, and my dad would have literally no idea what he's doing. And I'm pretty sure this has happened before, but they won't tell me about it because they keep everything that boy does a secret from me. But anyway, I think it's easy. It's really easy. And if you don't understand that you're basically giving these kids your credit card number, and these kids don't understand that they're using real life money to buy crystals and things like that, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it's scary, man, because exactly what Jack Black said, it's marketed to children.
It is. And I'm one of those people that's like, watch your goddamn kids. Don't blame other people for issues that your kids have. Like, I'm one of those people, like the people that blame violence in video games. It's affecting our children. It's like, no, just monitor what your kids are playing, and then you won't have that issue.
Yeah,
if you're a good parent, you won't have that problem, right?
Right.
So my thing is like, well, if you're a good parent, you'd probably be monitoring what your kid is doing, and you probably should stop blaming these companies for marketing these things to kids. But I have to defend the parents on this for the first time ever because it's so easy. It's a click away, right? And there's no signature, and it's always on the main page, right at the bottom, and it's a big flashing sign that's like, purchase me, purchase me, purchase me.
What also pops up, like, in between the game, it's like, as you're playing it, it'll pop up with a thing, be like, don't you want more of this?
Like, after you lose a match, it's like, oh, this would be easier if you purchase this.
Right.
So, like, a 8-year-old kid who can't really process, the intensity of, like, winning and losing, and a kid who keeps losing over and over and over again, they're going to just, like, say, oh, this is going to make it easier. I can get past that. I like that feeling of winning. I'm going to buy whatever I need to get to feel that sensation of winning. Kids are still learning about all that. So, of course, they're going to be more susceptible to it. And I get it. I really do get it. Maybe I think we need to do more to attack these companies that, like, maybe you need to hide this around something. It can't be on the front page, or it can't be just flashed in front of you every 5 minutes.
Or at the very least, it shouldn't be $100 purchase. Like, my child makes a 99-cent purchase. Like, that's one thing. Buying $100 worth of a fake currency in a video game, that's madness.
Or make the process harder.
Sure,
just
it should be
make it like I have to go physically onto the internet and put in my credit card in order to make a $100 purchase in an app.
Right.
It's an app. Like, these regulations should already be put up there. But again, they're hoping for your kid to mess up and make that $100 purchase.
And that's the thing, that's the big takeaway, right? It's like, anyone who doesn't think that, like, their goal is to make your finger slip or to get it into you as fast as possible is being naive. That is their goal. Because the only people who would get upset about having to log on to, like, a computer to make the process not streamlined in order to do these purchases are adults who are playing a mobile game to begin with, like, and are spending money on a mobile game. Like, at that point, like, you have the time to go and log on to your computer, and I don't really care if you're, like, annoyed that it takes that long for you to do it. It shouldn't be something where you can spend $100 with one click of a button in a game that is literally marketed towards children.
Towards children, yeah, absolutely.
That's
absolutely
just madness.
And it's essentially like the same thing as porn, right? You just click a button. So, I mean, you have to mask it around something. That was a weird analogy, but that's the only analogy that I could think of.
Yeah, no, it's very telling about you in general.
I know. What was I doing as a 12-year-old boy? So, like, it's easy to access, and I feel bad for Jack Black and these parents.
Poor Jack Black.
Like, A, monitor your kids better so they're not making these purchases, and B, companies need to do better to hide these behind some type of, I don't know, walls or something. I don't know the terminology.
The takeaway should be twofold. A is that, like, we should put a little bit more pressure on these people. A lot of people they've been calling for it to be called gambling more than just actual, which is a weird thing. It's not quite gambling, but I get that analogy, and I get that puts it in a different stratosphere. But then B, if you're going to give your iPad to, I'm not a parent, maybe I shouldn't say this, but if I was a parent, this is what I would be doing. If I'm going to give my kid a device with an app on it, I'm going to use the app first before I give it to my child.
Absolutely,
make sure it's good for them to use. Take the extra 10 minutes before you just, like, try to placate your kid to make sure you know what they're doing.
Yeah. Absolutely, and this is coming from two people that don't have kids, so
you know our opinion matters.
We know what we're talking about.
Okay, so in case you didn't see, Rampage is now going to be a movie starring Dwayne The Rock. Is he still The Rock? Do we still call him The Rock?
The Rock Johnson, yeah.
He hasn't
moved on
past from that?
And if you stop calling him The Rock, you get punched in the face.
Do you get the people's elbow?
Yeah.
Anyway, The Rock, who has made such cinematic gems as the Fast and the Furious franchise and Baywatch, has returned with Rampage, the upcoming movie based on one of my favorite games of all time and one of arcade gaming's classic stalwarts, Rampage. Here's a little clip.
George was 7 feet and weighed 500 pounds. George, you okay, buddy?
George is not okay.
It's okay. This morning he's 9 feet, pushing 1,000.
Yeah, well, George had a rough night. George is going to be a giant monkey who is going to rampage across the city. They also showed off the wolf character, who in the games is more like a werewolf man, but in this one he's not a biped. And then obviously the giant lizard woman. All of them, it's a little bit different than what the game is, right? The game is you're scientists and you have something goes wrong and you turn into monsters, sort of like the Hulk, and then you turn back into people after like you stop rampaging. In this one, they're just people. So they changed a little bit of it, but still, it looks like a really stupid, dumb box office movie, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah, except I don't like that. Rampage was awesome because it was like 3 people, right? That were like, something had happened to them. And this might be the twist at the end. We might be spoiling it, but something had happened to them where they turned into these beings.
Which is why it was called Rampage, by the way, because there's people who were doing this. Yeah,
because I think it's like something would trigger in them, and then they would turn into these monsters, and then they have to go to these tops of these skyscrapers and basically destroy everything. They eat people. It was just like, the game was amazing.
Yeah,
if you haven't played Rampage, like, go play Rampage. The game is amazing. It's like a game I grew up with. I think I had it on... Did they release it on... What did I have it on?
They've released it multiple times.
I think I had it on NES.
Yes.
Nintendo. I think that was the only system, and then, of course, the arcade game. But I think that was the only system they had it released for.
It was released on N64 in like a package, and it was also released on the Sega Master System.
I might have had it for 64, too.
I played it on 64.
I might have had it for 64, too, yeah. Because I think that was, I did have it, because you could hook up to 3 controllers and all your friends could play.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it happen, and I'm just, it's interesting to see if we'll see other, like, arcade games with no plot whatsoever be turned into movies.
Here's my thing. I think that's the perfect game to turn into a movie, because you have a blank canvas, all you're working on is the aesthetic. I think it's easier to do that than it is to take a really good game, like a BioShock or a any of the Final Fantasy games, something with a real story to it. You can't just translate that to film. This, you can do whatever you want, because it's just about monsters destroying a city.
Yeah, and it's similar to what they did with... They botched it, but it's similar to what they did with Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Like, basically take a...
They botched it! I love that movie.
I mean, I loved it growing up, but if you go back and watch it, you're like, they could have done a lot more with these characters.
Sure.
And
but
even
that
when
song,
you see, like, the newer Mortal Kombat X and, like, that gameplay... sorry, not the gameplay, but that story behind it. Like, they could have done a lot more. I'd be interested to see a modern Mortal Kombat movie. But yeah, I'm excited. I like these big blockbuster crap movies. Specifically when they come out on HBO, so I can watch them during the summer. So
spending all your money on video games, you can't buy a movie ticket.
I can't go see movies, no. But it'd be interesting to see, like, maybe a Paperboy movie.
That would be incredible. Oh my god, I can't believe nobody's ever thought of that.
You can have, like, a crazy town where this kid's delivering papers and he's slowly starting to uncover a mystery, which you could essentially just build that around the Paperboy arcade game. There's some games out there that you could really turn into franchises.
The arrogance of Hollywood writers to take something that is a perfect story in and of itself and be like, yeah, but we could do it better and make money with it, is asinine to me. And it's not just that they do this with video games that have great stories, which they do, and then butcher them because these people can't write, but they take classic literature. They took the Iliad by Homer, which we've read for 4,000 years, and they're like, you know what, I think that ending, it could use a little tweak. Like, who are you? Who are you to think that?
No, absolutely. And I'm not going to go classic literature route. I'll go a simple route. I'll go anime. Look at all these anime movies that they're making.
Perfect.
And these animes that are highly regarded, like Ghost in the Shell, Death Note, these highly regarded animes that are being made into movies, and they all are garbage. Dragon Ball Z, Avatar, all are garbage. Just, you have source material. It's perfect. Why do you need to adapt it in order to make it better?
Right.
It's just, and you're not accomplishing it. And we've seen it done time and time again, and it's just not done well. I think so. You need to take a step back and just take something with a blank slate and do with whatever you want with it.
Yeah, which is why, in a weird way, and again, like, none of this is saying that these are phenomenal films. I'm just saying that, like, Rampage is different to me than, like, an Assassin's Creed because it is just a blank slate. There's no story in Rampage. It's about a whole bunch of monsters who punch a city and eat people. That's it. That's the entire game. So, like, you can do anything with that. There's so much you can do. And why not throw The Rock in there? Because he already looks like somebody who could beat up an 80-foot ape. If you had to pick one human being to fight an 80-foot ape, you would either pick The Big Show, who's probably too old, J.J. Watt, or The Rock.
Terry Crews.
Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah. Yeah. Uma Thurman, Kill Bill days.
Oh, yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah, back when she was doing, like, those action films, Uma Thurman could take out anyone. Charlize Theron He's a pretty good action star. You could probably take out. That's about it, though.
Yeah. I would
Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
He would just handsome them to death.
As soon as he cuts the hair off, the monster would be like, oh, look at him.
Now I'm all hot and bothered thinking about Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I agree with you. They did it with Tron, too. Trying to make Tron an overly dramatic movie.
Yeah, like, why?
So, I don't know. Aren't they making a Tetris movie?
They are. It's not just a Tetris movie. There's supposed to be 3 Tetris movies. It's a trilogy of Tetris. Which, by the way, is not going to happen. Like, I do not foresee any world where a Tetris movie is successful. How do you make a movie out of Tetris to begin with? And then second off, you have the audacity to pitch it as a trilogy to tap that deep, deep story well that is Tetris.
I don't even know what a Tetris movie would be about.
What could it possibly be? Is it going to be like a war game scenario where like they have to stack different cubes in order to save the world from nuclear winters?
Yeah, it essentially would just be the Ender's Game, right?
Right, yeah.
You're sitting around.
I'm guessing that's the route they go with, except they'll just loop that Tetris track. Do 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 do. But that would go on for 2.5 hours.
The music is good enough to fill up 3 movies.
I would just watch that on a blank screen.
I would do it in a second. I would do it in a second. And how does Tetris get a movie before, like, Galaga? Like, Galaga makes more sense to get a movie.
Too, yeah. Or Space Invaders.
Make a Galaga Space Invaders. God, Frogger. Make a, like, anamorphic movie about a dude trying to get to work every day, and he just can't get to work because he's living in a world that's being destroyed by human consumption.
There's a lot of options.
Oh, my God. Hollywood, call me. I got a Frogger movie for you right now.
You gotta move down here, man. You'd be a millionaire already.
Dude, my Frogger movie is like, it's gonna be so liberal too. Oh my God, let's go.
Lots of socialist undertones in this Frogger movie.
Yeah, it's like the capitalist onslaught of every day. I have to wake up and go back to work.
Ribbit.
Almost dying every time I get. Yeah, dude. Oh man.
It writes itself.
I would be the Animal Farm of Frogger movies. Let's go.
A lot of literature references today. I like it.
Yeah, I read.
Oh man. Anyway, I mean the thing is, I really think that the dumber a game you're picking, the more freedom you actually have as a storyteller to tell it as a movie. And I think that's the route that these people should go.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Rampage could be the biggest piece of crap ever made by anybody, but I'm cautiously optimistic for it to be just a really big, stupid summer movie like the original Transformers was. To work it back into video games, one of the things that's so great about video games is, maybe because they're interactive or maybe just the storytelling's so good. I mean, like, these things can continue for so long. There's nothing in pop culture, maybe with the exception of, like, a Star Wars or, like, Lord of the Rings. But even Lord of the Rings, you know, the novel went unadapted for such a long time, unless you count those horrifying nightmare-fueled 80s animated movies. Video games, the IP lasts forever and ever and ever. I mean, Mario just sold a gajillion units because it's still Mario.
Yeah, but it's a blank slate.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, it goes back to like...
Right. But look at Mass Effect. Mass Effect had a world built around it and a plot built around it, and it essentially made 2 good games.
Right.
1 polarizing game that I thought was okay, that I thought was really good, and then, like, the 4th is just garbage. So... I think when, like you said, if you have a blank slate, it gives you more opportunity to have these games. IPs last forever.
Right.
Whereas if you have a Last of Us, you can probably just do 2 Last of Us. You probably can't do more than 1. You can only do 3 Uncharted. You probably can't do another Uncharted.
Right. It's too story heavy, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The freedom of video games is that they're interactive, and that at the end of the day, and this seems to be getting lost more and more. I don't know why. Video games are supposed to be fun and inventive. We keep seeing the same thing over and over and over again. And this isn't true completely, because there's tons of wonderful indie games, and even some of the bigger games are doing different stuff. But a lot of them are almost carbon copies set in a different world over and over and over again.
Well, look at Call of Duties. Call of Duty's essentially releasing the same game every year. I heard this one's a little different.
Look, so I have it, right? And I've played like an hour of it. And while it's good and fine, there's just nothing about it that... I don't get excited to play Call of Duty, you know? I'm not, like, looking forward to, like, I gotta put in some Call of Duty time, because I've already played it eight times.
Right, that's why, like, my roommate and my friends I play games with are trying to get me to buy it. I'm like, I'm not spending money on this game. Like, I'm not going to buy another. Because every year that I buy a Call of Duty, I'm like, why did I buy this game?
Right. And
it's the same thing.
Exactly. And frankly, like, don't buy it. I hate to even say that because, we've had them on the show, and I like them, and the game itself isn't bad at all. It's a beautiful game. It sounds great. It feels great. But it's like, why? Why are you buying it? It's like Madden every year.
Buy it every,
buy the other one.
Iterations that are interesting. I don't even know. I can't even... These multiplayer games that release every year are just I'm saying this as I'm putting hours into Battlefront 2, which is essentially the same thing as Battlefront 1, just with just bigger. So I really can't. I have no room to talk. But yeah, you're right. We are getting these iterations, especially these AAA games that are getting released over and over and over again that are the same thing. And I think 2017 has been a good year where I think we started to see the break of that mold.
Yes.
Because Assassin's Creed has been extremely different than any other Assassin's Creed I played in my past.
Right.
Call of Duty, I guess, is different, but I watched my roommates play it last night, and it's still fast.
It's still Call of Duty, man.
It's still Call of Duty. It's just with different guns. Right. So that series needs a complete revamp.
Well, but so it depends what you call a AAA title, I guess. I would consider Horizon Zero Dawn a AAA title. Maybe because of how much it's sold.
Well, it is a AAA title.
It is, right?
It's different, yeah.
It broke the mold and did something completely different. Obviously, Nintendo is Nintendo, and they're the guiding light of all of this because they can take 40-year-old IPs and then still do something so different and so new that it blows people's minds.
Right. And Nintendo, but even I love Mario. It was essentially just Mario 64.
Sure, yeah, that's what I've heard. I haven't played it, so I can't really
with some awesome surprises in it. And mind you, a lot of people are going to give it Game of the Year. It's not my Game of the Year.
No, really.
It's a great, great game, but it's just Mario 64.
You got to go Zelda Game of the Year, right?
Zelda is Game of the Year.
There's not a debate there, right?
Zelda or Horizon, dude. I think people are sleeping on Horizon. Horizon, if you're going to compare Horizon and Zelda did something with open world games that's never been done before, where they just put you in the world with no guidance whatsoever, and you just have to make that game what it is.
Right.
Horizon was that world is just phenomenal, and there's so much to do in that world, and that's the only thing I'd give it over Zelda, but that there is so much more to do in that world of Horizon.
And let's give it this. Oh, sorry, I don't know.
Whereas Zelda was just exploring, seeing what type of recipes you can cook up, resource extravagant. Finding those places where you could take pictures and things like that. So
right,
but still, Zelda was phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to argue that Zelda isn't a mind-blowingly great game. What's amazing about something like Horizon Zero Dawn is that it's a brand new IP. It came out of nowhere. It just came out of somebody's head this year. Zelda, they're both impressive for completely different reasons. It's really impressive to see a new game really be in the Game of the Year conversation, like Horizon Zero Dawn. And then it's also impressive to see a game series that's been around for over 30 years still be able to be on the top like that with Zelda. So both should be applauded, and they should be applauded for the opposite reasons, but they're both amazing.
And I'm not going to sit here and say Mario was the same. They didn't innovate or do anything. It's a very innovative game. It's a very different game. I'm still playing it, even though I beat it, quote quotes. I'm still collecting Power Moons. And it's a delightful game. I had the most fun. I had a smile on my face the entire time I played Mario. So for that, you could give it Game of the Year because it just made me feel so good. Mm-hmm. But people are sleeping on Horizon. People are sleeping on Nier Automata. People are sleeping on Persona 5 just because Nintendo came back. And I'm going to say it, the reason why people are being so Nintendo is because Nintendo's been so shit for so long.
Right.
So long. So it makes you excited to see Nintendo back on their stuff again.
And I think that's the thing that everyone should take away from this is that you might think Nintendo's down, but Nintendo is Nintendo. They wrote the book on all of this. They're the reason this exists. So don't think that this is they're not some company that's just going to fade away. They're Nintendo. They are the top of the mountain. They have been for 35 years.
And we should be expecting more from them.
We should. I think we should hold them accountable.
A lot of people think I'm down on Nintendo. My negativity with Nintendo is that they shouldn't. Sony and Microsoft shouldn't even be close to them right now.
Nintendo,
like you said, they started this game.
Right? They're the New York Yankees. I'm down. So the Yankees almost made it to the World Series, and I'm like a little bit disappointed because the Yankees are supposed to win the World Series every single year. They're the Yankees. That's what Nintendo is. You hold them to a higher standard.
Yeah, Nintendo's Disney.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they are.
Nintendo's the United States. Like, Nintendo is like the
LeBron James.
Nintendo is the tall white kid in your high school that had blue eyes and blonde hair, that was the quarterback of the football team, that was dating the main cheerleader. Maybe if we went back to school in the 80s. But that is Nintendo. Nintendo's top dog. No one says shit.
Nintendo is a white guy who can dunk.
Yeah.
If you could do that, the entire world is whatever you want to make
and
of it.
And impressively dunk, not just graze the rim.
No, he can slam it down.
He can slam it down to the point where a black guy will see him and be like, damn, the white guy got hops. Like, that's the type.
It is sad how much that is my actual dream in life. I hate to wrap this up because this has been a really interesting conversation, but we're running short on time. What have you been playing, Eddie?
Everything. What have I not been playing? It's a better question.
That is a better question.
I beat Wolfenstein. I beat South Park. I quote-unquote beat Super Mario Odyssey. So, I cleared up some of those games. I'm going back to games that I couldn't beat. So I've been playing Nier again. Persona I need to get back into because still, to be honest with you, I love Zelda, but Persona's probably still my game of the year.
It's fine. You know what? You can personally like a game more than any other game. It doesn't...
Yeah, so commercially, Zelda is probably the best game of the year, but personally, Persona just did something for me that it filled everything that I needed to get filled, right? So yeah, I'm really playing Prince of Persia right now. I love Prince of Persia. I love Bayek. I love that story. I'm like, I love Egypt.
You call it Prince of Persia. Do you mean Assassin's Creed Origins?
I keep calling it Prince of Persia. It's like
I was like, when was the last Prince of Persia game?
I keep calling it Prince of Persia.
That's
I can't
hilarious.
stop. Thank you for calling. I didn't even realize I called it Prince of Persia.
they're kind of similar.
It's like part of me now because I feel like I'm playing a Prince of Persia.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a great game. I don't even know if that's racist of me calling it Prince of Persia, but whatever. It's a great game, so I'm getting through that, and I'm really just playing this Battlefront, dude.
Just on that Battlefront grind, dude.
I'm trying to get my Lando up, so trying to get my Lando up to level 10. I love me some Lando.
Yeah, dude, Don Glover.
Oh god, the voice of Lando in the game is so awesome.
Really?
Just, little quips he has, I should have had a bounty on my head by now. I'm just like, oh Lando, you're so cool.
Oh, Lando.
You're so cool, Lando.
Lando.
Never thought I'd be back in the trenches again. I'm like, oh my god, Lando.
You should voice him in the next one.
I should. I love Lando.
Move over, Don Glover.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I've been playing. Games are good. Games are great. Wolfenstein was fantastic. Play it. If you want to kill Nazis, play it.
Check it out. Check out our interview with the stars of it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, absolutely. It was a great interview. But man, that game is just the voice acting, the cutscenes. That game was so fun. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And it had some of the best moments of the year in a video game. Especially that middle portion. So just play it. South Park was okay. I wouldn't recommend it. It was okay.
Yeah.
If
I
you
think
like
the Stick
South
of
Park,
Truth was a little bit better.
If you like South Park, get it. Because I love South Park, so I loved it. I love the ending. A lot of people will probably be mad about the ending, but if you don't like South Park, don't buy it. It is strictly South Park humor. They bring back Mitch Connor. If you don't know who Mitch Connor is, don't buy South Park. So, but other than that, yeah. And Super Mario, buy a Switch. Buy 2 Switches, give it to your friends so they can play Super Mario. That's how good that game is.
Bam. There you go. That's your homework.
What are you playing?
So I took a break from new games because it was overwhelming to me, and I started playing Final Fantasy IX because I live in a circle where I just play the same games over and over.
Going back to that, yeah.
I know, man. I don't know what's wrong with me. They just make me feel good.
Okay, all right, whatever. You do what you got to do.
I will. Thank you.
Do what you got to do.
But I've also been playing Call of Duty. I'm literally, as we speak, I'm downloading Battlefront 2 so I can play it. I'm bad. I got it 2 weeks ago and I haven't played it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, good for you. You gotta let me know how that is, because I refuse to buy Call of Duty. Right. So
I'll give you an update next week.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
All right, well, as always, thank you, everybody, for listening. Please subscribe, share. We really love that you guys listen. It's been fun. We've been doing this for almost half a year now, so it's been good.
Yeah, we took a month off. Was that a month between?
Something like that. To be fair, This has been the craziest Google my name and just look at the stories that have come.
Yeah, I feel bad for you.
It's all right. I feel
bad for you, but I feel really bad for the woman that had to go through all this. So.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It makes you feel selfish. You know, like I'm complaining because I have to work extra hours. These people have their lives lit on fire. Like it's some of these allegations. I don't want to get too into this, but the allegations are so gross and so awful, and you just feel bad for everyone involved. Not everyone involved. Everyone who was preyed upon, you feel bad for.
I was just saying it's affecting the game industry. We see it with IGN. IGN's in it now too. So.
No one's immune. You know, this is a thing. It doesn't have party. This is so stupid to say. I can't even believe that people would think this. Clearly, it doesn't have party lines. Clearly, it doesn't have lines across any like creed, nationality, race. This is just a human being issue, and the fact that even has to be said is disgusting to me. That anyone
it's a male issue, really.
Sure.
It's not even a human being issue. It's a male issue, and we have to do better as men. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox about this because, but. You're absolutely right. It's not a party line issue. It's not a race issue. But we as Americans, we will make it about that.
No, go on Twitter. You'll see it a lot of it.
Yep.
Anyway. Well, that was fun.
Yeah. Anyway, the Punisher is fantastic, by the way. Check that out.
Boom. All right, thank you, everybody. We love you.
Love you. Justice League, sir.
It does. It's terrible, don't you?